We are back, and now we are still reading Rising Above My Fears on My Wings of Faith. We are on chapter 4. I now believe I can fly in flight. The butterfly, a seemingly fragile creature, can fly up to 20 miles per hour at altitudes up to 10,000 feet. They cover an average of 80 to 100 miles per day. Most butterflies fly during the daytime. They are creatures of the sun and fly best when it is warm. On cool days, they perch on rocks and bask in the sun to absorb heat and rev up their metabolism. Now, eagles use wind thermals, which is the rising currents of warm air, and updrafts generated by rough terrain, such as valley edges or mountain slopes, to help them soar with minimal wing flapping, thereby saving precious energy. Long distance flights, such as the annual migrations, are accomplished by climbing to great heights in a thermal, then gliding downhill to catch the next thermal, where the process is repeated. Eagles can average speeds of 50 miles per hour. Efforted, effortlessly, an eagle can circle in a strong thermal to high altitudes. When attacking prey, they can reach speeds close to 190 miles per hour. Wow. No, we as human beings cannot physically fly unless in an aircraft, but our mind, spirit, and soul can take flight and should take flight daily. Both the butterfly and the eagle tend to do a lot of daytime flying. They both are friends of the sun, which provides warmth. They fly pretty fast and can cover a lot of ground. They go to high altitudes to maintain a certain level of consistency in flight using the wind as a cushion. We need to understand that we can reach altitudes of success in our lives by just gliding on the wind with our wings of faith. Fly and live to tell the tale. Quote Erica Jong. What is our win? Our win is our words, thoughts, ideas, and beliefs that we feed to our mind, spirit, and soul. It must be positive. It must be of a good report, pure and beneficial. That is why each day we should awake to something positive, a song, a scripture, a quote. Awake and arise to something that will build your thermals so you may go the distance for that day without a lot of effort. The wind will allow us to glide and save precious energy for the days the wind may not be strong enough to carry us. We must learn how to wait and wait patiently on the power of the wind. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Isaiah 40:31. Self protection. You may not see butterflies on overcast days, but they're there. With their wings closed, many butterflies hide their bright colors and blend in with their surroundings. They camouflage. They can blend themselves with its host plants, or it can mimic a poisonous butterfly to prevent its predators from eating them. They emit certain toxins from their body to make the predator sick. That mimicking butterfly may die from the bite of the predator, but other butterflies will live because the predator will stay away from butterflies that change to that color for protection. So the butterfly gives his life to save the life of others. Just a note, we know Christ did the same for you and me. Let's take advantage of him dying and rising again so that you may have life. Now, the eagle does not have many natural enemies or predators. Because of its ability to dwell in the high places, it almost rules the skies alone. But when it is tired, it perches. They typically perch on the tallest tree along a shoreline. Now, we as human beings must develop a shield of protection. The elements are not always favorable for our flying, and the prince of the air, our enemy, is seeking to and fro whom he may devour. Our defense mechanisms must be in working order. We must be fully armored. We must know where we can go to hide or perch if need be. And we cannot be afraid to fight. Remember, we have been equipped to handle whatever comes what may. We must go within to seek the wisdom of what to do and when. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Ephesians 6:12 through 18. For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock. Psalm 27:5. During the storm. During the inclement weather, the butterfly dare not venture out. Because they have delicate wings, even though they are equipped to handle flight because of the thin layers of chitin, a hardened protein, as well as the strength of the veins, they take cover during the storms. They perch on the underside of a leaf, crawl deep between blades of grass, or into a crevice in rocks, or finds some other shelter and sleeps. But an eagle can fly into the eye of a storm and come through with feathers a little ruffled, but intact. The eagle may seek a roosting tree for shelter to rest and wait for the storm to pass over, but is not afraid and is capable of flying through the storm if need be. It is notwithstanding that we humans have storms in our lives. Sometimes these storms come with warning, and we are able to get our bearings and be prepared to handle them. But most often, storms come with not enough warning to prepare. But in accepting that we have been prepared and equipped, we can be like the eagle and go through the eye of the storm, get a little ruffled, and still come out on the other side intact. Oh, yes, it can take away some of our strength. It can wear us down, but it will not take us out. Airplanes fly in storms and generally withstand the elements. If it gets too rough, the pilot would do an emergency landing, just like the eagle will go and roost. It's not a bad thing to go and roost or do an emergency landing. It is simple wisdom. It does not say that we gave up, but it just says that we know who we are, where we are in this storm, what our capabilities are, and what we have been equipped to handle at that present time. Yes, it is great to be in ego state of mind in this case because you display strength, courage, and wisdom. You have nothing to prove to anyone. Just be who you are, and that is enough. For in whatever state you are still in charge, even if you are resting or sleeping. Nothing and no one can overtake you unless you allow it. Sometimes the most urgent and vital thing you can possibly do is take a complete rest. Quote from Ashley Brilliant. How long in what state of mind? Butterflies' average lifespan is approximately 1 to 3 months, but they must be sharp, alert, and always on the defense to survive even for that period of time. Eagles' average lifespan is 30 to 50 years. They tend to die from old age or the unfavorably environmental conditions produced by human beings. Now, human beings' life expectancy can go up to 80 years of age, rarely 100. So, what does these statistics mean to us? Sometimes we are in a butterfly state of mind where we are beautiful yet fragile. We can fly, but only in favorable conditions. When we cannot deal, we camouflage and take cover. But the thing we must grasp is that we cannot stay in too many butterfly states of mind. The butterfly is always on guard because of its vulnerability. It is always paranoid, which is very stressful. The butterfly also does a mimic cry. It blends in with its surroundings. It has to deceive and become something that it really is not. It is not good to be deceptive to those on the outside to protect yourself because then you are not being true to yourself and you will become confused and not fully accept who you really are. I think of a story about an imposter. This is a true story that was aired on television. This man had a rough childhood, so he began to create all these personalities. He said whatever he thought to become, he became. See how powerful the mind can be? If we think and believe things internally, they will take shape and come forth externally. Now, this imposter became a soldier, an emergency room physician, a private investigator, an attorney, a father, and a husband 5 times. And when he could no longer handle the pressures or the threat of being found out, he would switch again and become someone else. Yes, it is quite sad because he hurt a lot of people along the way, being to them someone he was really not to himself. He gave a mimic cry. He deceived himself. He admitted that he was totally lost and had totally lost who he really was. So now he decided to pick one of the personalities he made up to be for the rest of his life. This man was in a butterfly state of mind and remained in it too long until he until he killed himself internally. Because we are not training our children and we have become too selfish and too self-absorbed to be good caretakers, there are many more like him. Are you like him? Hmm. No one who had attained an ego state of mind was there for him to aid him in metamorphosing from a butterfly to an eagle. Therefore, who he really was died many years ago. We might say, but he was all of these people and they were successful, making money, driving fancy cars. But to have things and not to have the true you living inside of you and being experienced by others externally is not having life at all. That is why so many people commit suicide. This man will never be satisfied, no matter which personality he picks, until he brings who he really is back from the dead. Yes, at times it is okay to take cover under a leaf like the butterfly because you are accepting your moments of vulnerability and recognizing what you can and cannot handle. But by all means, quickly switch and get from under that leaf. You don't want to stay there past your time, or you may want to mimic cry. I find myself in a butterfly state at least once every month for several days during a cycle. But I am seeing that each month, the length of time in the butterfly state is less and less. I am aiming towards exiting out of a butterfly state within an hour or no more than a few minutes in a day during that time of the month. Once I recognize that I am in that fragile state, I do avoid storms that can clip my wings. I do avoid people that I know mean me no good. I am honest with myself about the state I am in and what I can handle. If you know that harm could happen to someone if they go to a certain place or are exposed to a certain atmosphere or area, would you take them there if you cared for them? I do not think so. Therefore, care that much more for you. Do not subject yourselves to stress when you do not have to. We do have choices. I know how to blend in, but not to become something I am not while blending. The goal is not to stay in the blender for an elongated period of time. Once you recognize your state of mind, start working towards rebuilding yourself. If you recall, the butterfly goes to the sun as a source of light, heat, and to be rejuvenated. In the butterfly state, immediately go to your source and get revived. My source is God, and He lives within me. Jesus is my present help in my time of trouble. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. Please understand, it is very dangerous to remain in the butterfly state of mind. It may not be a physical death immediately, but when your mind, spirit, and soul is shut down in hiding too long and you are hidden from the source of strength, warmth, and rejuvenation, you begin to die from the inside out. Remember, the butterfly only lives 30 to 90 days. So once you use up your butterfly days, you are a goner. As quickly as we can, we need to switch from the butterfly state of mind to an eagle state of mind. You may be wondering how a butterfly can become an eagle. How did you come up with that analogy, you may ask? Well, It is a fact that the butterfly is the only insect species besides a moth that during metamorphosis, the actual body structure, appearance, function, and internal organs change to something totally different. It does not become a bigger version of a caterpillar, what it once was, but it becomes a butterfly, something totally different, having no resemblance to what it once was. So, why can't we change from a butterfly state to an eagle state? The mind is greater than an insect metamorphosis. An eagle state of mind is greater in sustaining life, more beneficial in building life and abiding therein. A person can live a lot longer with more freedom and power in an ego state of mind. As stated, the ego state of mind is more beneficial. Another reason this is so is because the ego can endure a storm if he must. The ego has enough strength and wind power to fly through the eye of a storm. He may be a little ruffled when he comes out on the other side, but he makes it through. Also, the eagle has wisdom to know when to take cover, roost, and rest in the storm. Many times we need to rest our mind, spirit, and soul and take cover during the storm. The eagle understands the wind and the thermals, and he knows how to glide and conserve its own energy by letting the wind beneath its wings lift him. He knows how to spot and catch the right wind. I stated earlier that our win is the words and the things that we allow to enter in our inner being. Whether it enters through the eye gate, the ear gate, or the mouth gate, we let the wind in. This wind will either help us to glide, fly, and soar, or it will cause us to plummet to our death. With the eagle state of mind, we can overcome obstacles. Everything will look so tiny as we soar to the heavens. We will have the keenness, sharpness, wisdom, and agility to not be so heavenly bound in no earthly good. Even though our mind, spirit, and soul are in flight, our feet are still on the ground. We are still in touch with the earthly things, the situations we must deal with, the things we must overcome. But because we have a higher level of understanding and keener insight, we know that we will gain dominion over the earthly things instead of them having dominion over us. We will not let the earth or this world put limitations on us because we can fly, we can soar, we will reach our higher destiny. And God blessed them, man and woman. And God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Genesis 1:28. The man who acquires the ability to take full possession of his own mind may take possession of everything else to which he is justly entitled. Quote from Andre Carnegie. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. Proverbs 16:32. Fly high until you soar. I now believe I can fly. What about you? At the beginning of this book, I shared with you the fear I had developed about flying. Even though I did fly several times, I did it with the predator of fear on my back, trying to devour me. Sometimes we have to do things afraid in order to overcome fear and give it a good smack in the face. In the introduction of this book, I left you at the point of the story where I flew to the Bahamas, but I still did not believe I could fly. Being an entrepreneur, there are times when you must decide to have an ego state of mind about many things. Well, flying to Arizona for virtue became one of those things. I had to feed my wind the right words so I could believe I can fly and I would be free to fly and enjoy my experience of flight. My trip to Arizona in an airplane was a major turning point in my life. It was a little less than a month from the time I was completing the first release of this book that I had to take flight. I had to go and do two site visits in Arizona. The train was not an appropriate mode of transportation, and I could not find any cruises. I hemmed and hawed around, trying to delay the purchase of my ticket. I told them I wasn't coming on any off brand airlines, and I came with excuse after excuse. Finally, I said to myself, "You're being ridiculous. Enough is enough." How many times have you come to the point where you got on your own nerves and you were sick and tired of your own silliness? I had to propel myself to believe I can fly. And after everyone had made their arrangements, I knew I better get to somebody's airport and fly. How ironic that the site visits were for a conference entitled I Now Believe I Can Fly that I was presenting at. I had to reflect on the fact that I had accepted my true self and I knew and believed who I was and who I was to become. I recognized the fear, anxiety, and the unbelief I was feeling, as well as how I could not allow this to be a hindrance any longer. Therefore, I rejected those feelings of fear, anxiety, and unbelief. I called them out and told them to hit the road, Jacks, and don't you come back no more, no more. I reassured my mind, spirit, and soul that this experience would be a good thing, and those ugly enemies had been killed with a sword of the Spirit. I assured my mind, spirit, and soul that if their backup force was to come, I would ward them off with my shield of faith. I received my good report that I knew I would be doing a lot of traveling by air because my destiny dictates it to be so. I rejoiced in being open and honest and truthful with myself. And then I began to allow the revival of my perseverance to be obedient in the things that the Lord has called me to do in the now that will lead to the greater works He will do in and through me later. I was now allowing all that I was equipped with internally to assist me in gaining permission from my control tower to prepare for flight and take off externally. The day of my flight had arrived. I was repeating to myself, I now believe I can fly. I now believe I can fly. I was feeding my wind with good words so I could have a good thermal to glide on. I arrived at the airport, got out my friend's van, and got in line. They pulled me out of the line because my plane was about to board, and they patched me through. Generally, by now, my knees would be weak. I would be sweating bullets or cannons, and I would begin to feel lightheaded. But I was still walking, very coherent, and saying, I now believe I can fly. I get to the gate. I realize they have given me a window seat. Now remember, I did not do window seats. In the past, if I sat by a window, I would immediately slam the shutter down and draw up to a ball of nerves and commence drama. This time, I did not even feel a twinge of fear or anxiety. I got on the plane and I put my bags in the overhead compartment and flopped down in my seat. I immediately began to look out of the window. I'm still saying, I now believe I can fly. They tell us to buckle up, sit upright, you know the spiel, and we begin to taxi down the runway. In the past, at this point, I usually would hold my breath and buck my eyes out, but I was calm and saying within myself, I now believe I can fly. We were cleared for takeoff, and the nose of the plane was upward. In the past, this is the moment when I would grab hold to the seat and fight not to barf. But this time, I actually wanted to lift my arms upward and flap them to feel the sensation of flight. I decided to contain my excitement and just chill and allow my mind, spirit, and soul to feel the sensation. Doing it that way, no one would think I had lost my mind. But I had lost my mind. I had lost the part of my mind that was fearful. Yes, there was turbulence and a few air pockets, but I was now in flight. For me, there was no turning back. Really, how would I get off the plane, anyways? I knew this was a definite. Physically, because the plane was in the air, but it was also a definite mentally because I believed I truly could fly. I had to go all the way. So my inner being, I decided to stay on this plane, fly, and live. I enjoyed the view of the white fluffy clouds above and below me. I realized I was flying through the clouds into the stratosphere. I marveled at the tiny little structures on the earth below. I gazed at the sun and I smiled at the Lord. I loved every minute of it. I chuckled to myself about how the Lord had shown me how and why to fly by teaching me about the butterflies and the eagles. I repeat, he taught me about the butterflies and eagles, not the birds and the bees. And that may be another book. I finally was at peace in the heavens. I was flying. I was soaring to my destiny, not just to my destination. I had pumped into my psyche the correct words that brought freedom to my mind, spirit, and soul. I was now able to fly high with that freedom and experience enjoyment with my true self. It was all because I decided to exercise my faith and believe I could fly, and I did. And you can too. We'll go through two more sections of this wonderful book. I hope you enjoyed this part. Stay tuned and be blessed.